Here on 2, we take to the road with William Woolard in a further report on the RAC Rally.
Coming into 5th gear, doing about 85, 90 miles an hour, sliding a bit. Knock the speed off.
Well, at last the cars are underway after 40 months of planning. The 12,000 marshals and medical and rescue teams, all of them voluntary out there in the forest, or at least planning to be, as the rally approaches them. And this morning, 155 cars roared across the start line here in Nottingham to kick off the 1985 Lombard RAC Rally. They've covered a great deal of ground today. They spent the morning charging around the 7 stages in the Midlands, all of them short and very fast, mostly tarmac. They then turned south through the Welsh Marches for a short stop at Worcester. Tea and buns and a quick nap perhaps for the drivers. Frantic activity, of course, for all the mechanics. In the darkness, they've recently plunged into the Forest of Dean, and they're going to spend the night driving through the wet and very black Forest of Wales. Let's pick up the action this morning at Woollerton Park. The start there. Our commentator is Brian Jones.
And extremely quick between 20 and 100 miles an hour. The seconds ticking away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the
1985 World Rally Championship is into its final round, and here at Woollerton Park we see Timo Salonen, the 1985 world champion, actually starting this stage in Woollerton Park. For the first time, the RAC Rally is actually starting right into a special stage, and so Salonen has, right through the gate, had to go against the clock, and we have times, unofficial times, that are going to tell us what the standard is that he's going to set. This, of course, is the Peugeot 205 T16, which has perhaps surprised the rallying world by taking the 1985 World Championship. Salonen the Finn is really into word go, and there's a huge crowd here at Woollerton Park to watch him. 94 miles an hour as he comes down to brake for this very, very tight left-hander, and then powering away. Remember, this is a four-wheel drive turbocharged car, and sliding on the exit, we come up to the line to see just what his time will be through the stage. I must emphasize this is an unofficial time, and as he goes through at the end of the first stage, it's 1 minute 29.16 seconds. Hannu Mikkola in the Audi, 43 years of age, vastly experienced, a regular racer on the British rallying scene. 7 times since 1977 has he been in the top 3. And Hannu Mikkola has won the event 4 times. Here he comes, 85 miles an hour, we see on the speed trap as he comes down into the left hand. With his record, Hannu Mikkola must surely be one of the favourites to win the Lombard Rally of 1985. Up to the finishing line he goes, and we see a time of 1:32. Marco Allen, 34 years of age, and of course this car is most interesting because it has a combination of supercharging and turbocharging in order to try to eliminate the turbo lag which affects the turbocharged cars. Marco Allen has been with Lancia for 12 years, and so he's been very faithful to them. 95 miles an hour, 98 I see as he comes down towards us, and I do believe that that's the quickest we've seen so far. A good start, therefore, for the Lancia Delta S Sport. Sliding the car on the exit of the right-hander. Despite the four-wheel drive, the surface is very slippery, and now Marco Allen goes up to the line. That time will take him into the lead on this first stage.
Quite extraordinary.
Twice world champion Walter Rohrl in the Audi Sport Quattro S1 with its 500 horsepower available. And this is the special development car, which has a most interesting semi-automatic gearbox. Well, the twice world champion Walter Rohrl is just exactly the man to take advantage of it. He has 2 clutches fitted to this car. There he is through the left-hander. he only operates the clutch to get it off the line the first time, and then is able to select the gear he wants automatically. And he's lost it on the exit there. The back end swings right round, and my goodness me, one or two of the spectators had a surprise. Walter Royal losing time there on this early special stage in Woollerton Park. Down the straight, let's see just what sort of speed. 98. Well, 98 was certainly the same as we saw for the Lancia Delta of Marco Allen, which we think is the quickest car so far. Royal sliding. His overall time, I fancy, will be a little bit down because he certainly will have lost time earlier on the special stage where he really overcooked it. 1:32.49. And here's Jörg Kankkunen in the first of the Toyota Celica twin-cam turbo cars. This is the 26-year-old Finn, sliding it through the left-hander, rather suggesting as though that they're all having a little difficulty with the surface through that left-hander. 86 miles an hour through the speed trap. Fred Gallagher, the Edinburgh man, sitting alongside the Finn as his co-driver. Remember, this is a blind rally, which means there are no pace notes, so a lot more responsibility falls on the shoulders of the driver. He has to interpret very rapidly indeed. And I fancy that this is a comparatively slow run here for Jörg Kankkunen. Crossing the line now into the 140s. Here we see the second of the Lancia Delta S4s. This is Henri Toivonen, sliding through the left-hander with the power down all the time, and the back end swinging out, but beautifully controlled there. 105, and that is the quickest that we've seen through the speed trap, turning through the left-hander, and there is no doubt on the evidence of this very first stage in the 1985 RAC Rally that we are going to see some very rapid Lancias sliding down into the final left-hand turn, heading up towards the finishing line on this stage, and it looks very quick indeed. 1:29.12.
Formula 2.
Bjorn Voldegaard, 1979 world champion. He won the Safari in 1984, and incidentally his co-driver Hans Torselius is retiring this year, but he's been with Voldegaard for a very long time. They make a tremendous pairing. Down the long straight. 74 miles an hour, the speed recorded, and on round. Still with the power on, as you can hear the revs roaring up. He keeps the power down, even on this slippery surface. No doubt where the loyalties lie. Here comes Tony Pond. The huge crowd very interested to see just how this Austin Rover Group car is going to do in the rally this year. Let's wish Tony Pond the best of luck, because if you recall last year, his rally ended rather early. In fact, on the very first stage. So Tony Pond, I'm quite sure, will be giving it the gun, but nonetheless taking care to see that he doesn't have such an early demise in 1985. This is a fascinating car. Remember that this one is a normally aspirated engine, basically 3 litres. It develops 410 horsepower, so immensely powerful. It's light, and of course it's 4-wheel drive, and so it is very, very hot, not favourite, but certainly very well favoured for the event. 72 miles per hour. Well, we shall certainly want to see a quicker speed than that as the rally progresses. Tony Pond and Rob Arthur, his co-driver, down into the left-hander. And remember that this car has had its successes this year but I think Tony Pond was being very careful on the first special stage. The new 1985 Shell Oils RAC Open Rally champion, and it's Russell Brooks. And the back swings out, but beautifully controlled there by Russell Brooks. And Mike Broad is his co-driver. His best result in this rally is a second place. Through the line there at just under 140s, and I think that's a good time for the Haute Manta 400. Kalle Grundle in the second Peugeot 205 T16. He's actually the current German rally champion, and he's really only been on the fringes of the World Series in this 1985 season. He actually finished in the 1,000 legs despite having quite a severe crash, and he finished 5th. 100 miles an hour for Kalle Grundle from Sweden. Sliding the car through, and you could see the way with the four-wheel drive cars that they are able to get the power down so much earlier. And let's watch it here. A beautiful exit from the corner, powering him away to the finishing line. 1:30.01.
First taste of rallying at
Malcolm Wilson at only 29. This Cumbrian certainly is a very promising hope for the future as he gains in experience and maturity as a rally driver. And looking very good at the moment on this fast section of the course. Remember, the stage is 1.1 miles long. Not the quickest. Now that's interesting because of course it is the second comparatively slow straight line speed that we've recorded for the 6R4s. You will recall that Tony Pond's speed also was comparatively slow compared with the Lanciers and the Quattros. However, Malcolm Wilson making a very good time there at 1:30.89, so his overall time is a competitive one.
And would you believe over 20,000 spectators went to Woollerton Park despite all that cold and rain? Now, all the drivers found the circuit very treacherous with all that mud and water about, but two or three things immediately became obvious. One is that the Lanciers are very, very brisk indeed. They're the only cars to reach 100 miles an hour on that short back straight. Marco Allen, their lead driver, immediately went into the lead, and his teammate Henry Toivonen took up the third place. The two-wheel drive cars are obviously going to have a much thinner time even than last year, none on the leaderboard. Russell Brooks said cheerfully in his Opel Manta that if it went on like this, losing 7 seconds per stage, he'd be precisely 1 hour and 10 minutes behind the leaders at the finish. But notice, how could you not? Those mighty Metros. Malcolm Wilson in 5th place, Tony Pond in 10th, both on the leaderboard. Let's hope they stay there. Let's pick up the action again with the cars at stages 4 and 5.
Next up, we should be seeing the
Timo Salonen, the new 1985 world champion, is making it all look very easy on this stage. Certainly settling down to a very good early stage in the rally. Hannu Mikkola in the Audi Sport Quattro S1. He survived a spin on the last corner at Chatsworth, but looks very quick here. Marco Allen, already fastest in the first 3 stages in the Lancia. But now he locks up, as you can see, and has to go the wrong way, the wrong side of that lock. My goodness me, that very nearly was serious for Marco Allen. He could have damaged his suspension if he'd hit the log. The Audi of Walter Rohrl. This is experiencing suspension problems at Trentham and drops from 6th to 9th overall. Kankanen admits to having an exciting time on the Lombard RAC, and judging from the actions of the crowd, they are too. The Toyota Celica is just behind his teammate, the vastly experienced Bjorn Valdegaard. Henry Toivonen, he hits a yump and lands very heavily and has to continue with 1st and 3rd gears only on this stage. the privately entered Quattro of Per Eklund. It's known that he prefers the forests, whilst admitting that this is great for the spectators. He's on slick tyres and finds it very slippery. Former world champion Bjorn Valdegaard. He's brought his Toyota into 10th overall at Chatsworth, but his uncharacteristic spin here will certainly cost him time.
Not yet had time to change it. Maybe wrong, maybe totally wrong.
The rotary engine Mazda RX-7 for Ingvar Carlsen. It goes off on this stage and is in any case having ignition problems, but he continues.
With the tremendous power that they're getting through there. So that's the first of the
Tony Pond in the MG Metro. He's taking it steady and says that the car is absolutely perfect. Teammate Malcolm Wilson. He's really started well, 4th overall at the start of this stage. Malcolm's certainly adjusting to his new team. Western Park Special Stage, number 5. Timo Salonen overshot the corner at Town Gate, narrowly missing straw bales. But here, he finishes 2nd fastest in the Peugeot. Hannu Mikkola, 4 times former winner of the Lombard RAC. He gives notice that he is right on form. 3rd fastest at Western Park. Markku Alén in the Lancia Delta S4 is fastest again, despite being slower than Henry Toivonen at Trentham. But Henry damaged his car here at Western Park by pushing out the logs at a very tight left-hand cut. The wheels and steering wheel escape damage so that he can still go on and continue very fast indeed. Several competitors have trouble with the water, but not so Bjorn Valdegaard in the Toyota Celica. He's now 9th overall. The 6R4 of Tony Pond is up to 7th overall after this section. And shortly, Tony is to admit that he's not going for broke. He's playing it very cool at this moment. The Opel Manta 400 of Open Rally champion Russell Brooks. Russell is looking forward to developing the GM's new Astra 4S next year, but here is at a disadvantage in power and drive. Carla Grundel is having a fine drive and was fastest overall at Chatsworth, now 2nd overall in the Peugeot. Malcolm Wilson, probably the revelation of the early stages in the Metro, and here, once again, going extremely well, very smoothly. Jimmy McRae in the AC Delco Manta. The very popular Scot is having a few brake problems, but nonetheless is having a tremendous battle with Terry Cabey. Of course, both of these cars are suffering, and here we see Cabey really suffering as he overcooks it through the left-hander. First one way, then the other. This, of course, is one of the disadvantages of the 2-wheel drive cars. And Terry, I'm sure, will be wishing that he'd A, got 4-wheel drive and perhaps even a turbocharged engine to help him.
Toivonen, you're lying 2nd at this stage of the rally. How has it been so far today?
Well, glad you told me that I am 2nd because I haven't followed the results at all. No, it's gone very well. I think that my experience with this 4-wheel drive car is very limited. I did about 35 miles gravel practice just 2 days before the rally, so I'm not really in yet. I must be happy, yes.
We heard that you'd knocked part of the front bodywork off. What happened then?
Well, was at Trentham Park. There was a very, very tight left hairpin, and it was so narrow that I couldn't get it round, and I was a bit lazy to reverse the car, so I thought that I will push a bit the logs with the right front tire, but unfortunately the spoiler went into between the logs.
Yes.
And broke the whole front.
Have your service crew replaced it?
Yes, they've done good work again.
Tony, everyone's very excited to see the 6R4s doing very well on the rally. What sort of rally is it shaping up for you so far?
Well, it's been pretty slippery and awkward. It's a case of just being around the pace, really. So we're very happy that we're not trying too hard, and we've got good positions, really.
And the car's standing up to it well?
Yeah, we haven't done anything yet. I mean, this is really, this is kid stuff. I mean, it starts now, really, when we go into the forest.
But how are you standing up to it? Because you were looking like you were going down with flu yesterday.
Yeah, well, I've got the flu, but I must forget about that and get on with the job.
Shake it off.
Yeah, yes. Shake it off.
But the car's terrifically hot inside, isn't it? That can't be helping you.
You get hot and cold, yeah, and get dizzy, but get round it.
Well, I hope you shake it off. It's a hell of a way to shake it off, but good luck.
Thank you.
Timo Salonen, reigning world champion, and you've had a very good year so far this year. How is the rally going for you? Well, here
now, yes, we start a little bit maybe too slow, but it's better because in those some stages are very slippery, but there's really rally start now when we go into forest.
What have the conditions been like today for your car?
For my car is good and some stages very slippery and muddy, but normal stages was good, no any problems.
And of course it was a Peugeot that won last year. How do you rate your chances?
I think so, we have very good chance.
Malcolm, all your fans are very glad to see how well you're doing in the rally. You're 30 seconds down on the leader. How well do you rate your chances of catching up?
Oh, it's very, very early days yet. You know, we're not looking at that at all, really. We're just, you know, obviously we've got a very difficult section ahead of us now tonight, so we're just going to see how it goes. We're very pleased with the way it's gone today. The car's behaved very well and no problems, really.
Have you got any particular team orders to conserve the car at all costs to get it through to the finish?
No, we have no team orders, just to enjoy the rally and, you know, just trying, you know, we really want to get a car at the end.
But there must be a friendly rivalry between you and Tony Pond.
Well, it's friendly, but there's no rivalry at all, really.
You just want to beat him?
Well, it's early days. It's too early to start, you know.
What happened at Chatsworth this morning? You had some sort of spin.
That's right. I think it was just getting used to the car. It was very slippery, and I half spun, and I couldn't select reverse gear, but it dropped us about 10 seconds or something, but that was about all, really.
Have the conditions been particularly slippery?
Very, very slippery, yeah. Yeah, very slippery.
Now, one of the issues that's already raised a fair amount of dust at this rally is, has it gone over the top? Is it too tough? Since 1961, it's always been a through the forest, through the night event. It's also been an event that forbids practice on the special stages, so the drivers never know what's coming next. But this year, some of the drivers are saying that it's become a dangerous event because there's too much driving allied to too little rest. Timo Salonen, for example, said to me yesterday, he's the world champion, of course, that these cars now pack over 400 brake horsepower and a light GRP body, and any lapse of attention is going to lead to very serious injuries indeed to the crew. Hannu Mikkola, who might be described perhaps as the grand old man of this event, said flatly that the world of rallying has changed radically over the past 5 years, and the organisers must pay attention to that. He said that handling 500 brake horsepower is a pig first thing in the morning, let alone after 36 driving with scarcely any rest. And the fact is, this rally schedules only 10-hour stopovers from Tuesday morning right the way through to Thursday afternoon. That might translate perhaps into 5 hours sleep for the drivers. Now, with me is Nick Britton, who's the leading press representative for Lombard. Nick, would you say there is a real problem with only 10 hours sleep in 50 hours of driving?
I think a couple of points here, William. First of all, the format of the event hasn't changed very much over the last 2 or 3 years, but as Timo rightly identified, the cars certainly have. They're now over 400 horsepower. They're very close to Formula One cars. They're very fast and very fragile. And I suspect, and this is a private suspicion, I think when the drivers are asking for more time in bed, they may in fact be using that as a polite euphemism for more service time for these rather fragile and very fast motor cars.
But how you slice it, Nick, you've got very experienced rally drivers who rally around the world. They are driving very, very powerful machines indeed, and they are bone tired. I mean, isn't that an accident really waiting to happen?
I think another point, William, that we perhaps tend to overlook is that in each one of these cars there are 2 drivers, and traditionally it's the lead driver who does the stages, and over 5 days we are in real terms talking about just 9 hours of special stage time.
Yes.
And the co-driver traditionally has the responsibility of driving the long road sections, so maybe they're overreacting a wee bit.
But I think, Nick, you would agree there are 2 problems. I'm sure Lombard don't want an accident to happen to a driver or the spectators, but you've got bone weary drivers in their cars at night, and you've got spectators really crowding very close, as we saw on those pictures, very close to the track. Isn't there some reason to listen to these early warnings?
Oh, make no mistake, we do listen to what the more intelligent drivers do say, and we hear it very clearly.
Yes, but they've never said it, have they, as loudly and as clearly as they're saying it now?
I don't think they've ever needed the sort of service time that perhaps they have needed this time that they haven't had before.
Would you like to stick your neck out and say that Lombard will not only listen very seriously to what they're saying, it will seriously reconsider the way it organises the event in future years?
Every year is a new ball game, William, and every year it's a different route. Next year it's going to be a different starting place and a different route, and we've heard what's been going on this year.
Do you have a profound worry? You don't want anybody to be injured, do you, Nick?
Of course not. Yeah. One is always worried. I don't think we're very much more worried this year than we've been in the past.
You're not, but you will listen to what the drivers are saying.
Absolutely.
Nick, thank you very much indeed. Well, we've just got some film that's come in from one of the first stages in the Forest of Dean, from Speech House, in fact. So let's go to that now from our cameras.
Hey, it's shuttle bus time.
Those pictures actually came from one of our 4 film crews who got on the road, leapfrogging from stage to stage. Not literally, of course, they're actually travelling in rather well set up Range Rovers. They are covering a very large amount of the rally, and in fact they're living the same sort of hard conditions as the drivers and crews themselves. Now, Sue Baker should be with one of those crews in the Forest of Dean now, and if we're lucky, we might hear her on the phone.
We've had drama at the Austin Rover service halt at Chepstow. Malcolm Wilson came in here just now with his Metro 6R4 working only in front-wheel drive instead of four-wheel drive. The trouble apparently struck on special stage 11, that was Malescott, and he reckons it cost him 2 minutes. Now, his service crew have just spent 25 minutes trying to cure the problem. They think they've fixed it and he's gone out again. But before that, on the first Forest of Dean stage, he had an alternator light flashing on, which was a faulty warning, and then the bonnet pin came out and his bonnet flew up in front of him and obscured his view. So he's battling with a series of problems. But Tony Pond, on the other hand, his teammate, is much happier. When I asked him how his Metro was going, he just leaned over, kissed its roof and said, just great.
Well, that's 9 stages down, or is it now, sorry, 11 stages down from the leaderboard. That means there are, 54 to go. 6 cars have dropped out so far, and the crews have gone, as they say, for an early bath. There have been several incidents, not least an alarm a little while ago about a spectator possibly injured in the forest. They stopped the rally and searched around, couldn't find the spectator, and that alarm has now been cancelled. One driver found his gear stick came off in his hand as he approached a particularly nasty bend, and Eric Weber managed to lodge his car neatly between 2 trees and had to be pushed clear. But the leaderboard is riveting. Marco Len has hung on to his lead. Timo Salonen has pushed up to 2nd place. Tony Pond, notice, is now up there in 3rd place, and Malcolm Wilson has dropped back a little down the leaderboard because of those troubles he had in the Forest of Dean. So that's really the end of the first day here in the control room at Nottingham. A day absolutely packed with incident and event. Something like 200,000 spectators watched all those stages. See you tomorrow at 11:40. I must start looking around for a day job.